The state of California's government is busy chasing away insurance companies, homeowners insurance companies, and driving up the cost of homeowners insurance, a couple $100 a month and growing, resulting not only more expensive monthly payments, but escrow is literally falling out, people unable to afford homes as a result. Where's this going to lead? Let's take a look at this very important issue that I think is not on many people's radar. I'm Bill Gross. This is my weekly real estate market update. I do this every week. This is the first of the year. Happy New Year. Let's jump into it. Now, before we get into the news, though, let's update on the market stats so we know where we are as far as the overall marketplace. And it's important to know that in any economy, you have two parts. You have demand and supply. Demand in real estate would be dictated by interest rates, supply by inventory. On the interest rate front, again, off the news last year, everybody was busy. Rates jumped up above 7% around December 18th. They had been coming down below 7 for quite a while. And then the end of the year jumped up. And I'm not sure why. A lot of uncertainty, maybe just a lot of conservatism. The truth is, this is still the midpoint of where they've been for the last year if you look at the graph. But it's just disappointing to be above 7%. I don't know that you would say rates are increasing, but they definitely jumped up about 0.25%. Not enough to retard buyer demand, but enough to maybe dampen it slightly. So we'll have to pay attention to that and see where that goes from here. On the inventory side, we look at homes for sale. One of the sources I use for that is Redfin, and on their inventory, you can see that seasonally, which means every year around wintertime, less homes on the market as people who maybe haven't sold yet take the house off the market, enjoy the holidays in their home, and then put the house back in the market by increasing numbers come springtime. You notice that pattern has been consistent throughout time. Also notice though, the inventory today is the lowest of any year other than 2019 or before. And so what that means is we still have not recovered from the pandemic. You see how much it dropped during the COVID period. We're still way below. And you also can notice that the amount of inventory has been declining steadily over years. We actually have less homes for sale and less homes in America today than we had 10, 20 years ago. So our population is increasing while the number of homes for sale and the number of homes both is declining. And as long as that's true, housing prices can't drop too much. We will not have any kind of housing disaster crisis in the long run, as long as that's the case, unless there's some sort of a bubble. Now, real estate is very local. Take a look at Los Angeles. Altos Research does a great job of summarizing the key metrics, and they come up with our housing market being at a 36. Now, notice it's 36.4. It had been 36.96, almost 37 a couple days ago. And it had been steadily getting worse. Now, what that means is 30 is an even market. 36 is a seller's market, a slight seller's market. We've been in the 40s during COVID, and it's been adjusting back down towards a more normalized market. So what I would say here is this is a seller's market, but softer seller's market than any time during the COVID period. And then we had to go back to pre-COVID to be where it was worse than that. So overall, the market still is very healthy, even in Los Angeles, though we have other problems as far as housing affordability and homelessness and things like that. So let's take a look at the housing market, and the effective insurance was reported in the Business Journal, North Bay version of it. California insurance crisis, partly cooling real estate market. And what they noted was, and this was an old statistic, a survey that said that something like 7% of escrows fell out of escrow because of the insurance, because insurance added extra costs. Now, this was an old study. Actually, when you updated it, the National Association of Realtors did an updated version, and it said now that 14% of escrows, 13% had fallen out of escrows because they couldn't either find insurance or get it at a price that they could afford. What happens is buyers will typically pre-qualify for a home loan or to be able to buy a property, and they factor in the interest rate, they factor in the cost of insurance and taxes, and they qualify based on their income. And if interest rates go up, it makes it harder to qualify. If housing insurance goes up from what they expected, again, makes it harder for them to qualify. So what's happening is the increased cost of $200 a month, $300 a month on a typical home in California, which is, a modest car payment, $200-300 a month. It's not insignificant. That money makes it harder for some people to buy a house. And as a result, less people are able to buy. Now, let's take a look at some key statistics in the insurance market to understand exactly how bad things are. This is from the California Fair Plan, which is a government agency. The name, of course, all government agencies always have great sounding names. This is like this was supposed to be the insurance of last resort. There was a time when people couldn't get insurance, the state would provide it and help people out. And you read the mission statement, and that was what this originally was. But you'll notice, look at the numbers. In California, we now insure $450 billion of insurance that no insurance company wants to underwrite. The insurance companies are literally leaving the state to avoid taking on this liability. And we have government politicians saying, oh, well, we're smarter than State Farm and Allstate and those bad insurance companies. We'll create a state program and we will issue insurance. And you can just see in the last year almost, it's almost doubled. In the last 2 years, it's almost doubled. And so again, if you believe that the geniuses that run the state of California are capable, then sure, by all means. In fact, take a look at the plan. This is what the FAIR Plan was originally established. It was to meet the needs of California homeowners unable to find insurance. It's not a state agency, nor is a public entity. And it says there's no public or taxpayer funding, but what happens is this is like Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. They put the government taxpayer on the hook and then say, well, it's not really your tax money, but we're the ones insuring it, which makes our insurance rates higher, makes our bond rates higher. And of course, if the thing falls apart, they turn to taxpayers to bail people out. That's how these programs always work. So who's running this? Well, the state insurance commissioner is Ricardo Lara. So Ricardo Lara. So the man who is now in charge of $450 billion of homeowners insurance has never written a policy in his life. He's a lifelong politician. He entered as a politician. He ran for public office. Then he ran for another public office. Now he's our state commissioner. And he's now the, I guess, wizard of insurance for California. He's the guy who knows more than State Farm and Allstate and all these other companies. He knows that while they wouldn't take on this risk, he's smart enough to find a way to make it work. Well, is he really all that smart? Let me just take a look at a recent interview with him. This is too funny. So he was talking about his approach to insurance and how he was going to help things get better. One of the problems with insurance agency, like all government agencies, is they're very slow to get approvals and licensing. And it says that he wasn't aware that the state review of insurance companies' proposed rate hikes, which were supposed to be 60 days by law, basically the state government violates the law because they don't review requests in 60 days. They take as long as 18 months. Can you imagine being an insurance agent, insurance company? You're entitled to raise your rates on certain conditions. You file the proper paperwork, and it take a year and a half. Well, obviously, a year and a half later, all your costs have gone up again, right? So this guy, Ricardo Lara, says he was ignorant. And this is his words, a quote. This was completely ignorant on my part as a new insurance commissioner. Now, I'm going to continue. I'm like, okay, we're reviewing these rates. We're done, right? They're like, oh, no, there's a whole backlog. He said during his hour-long interview. Does this sound like an educated, successful leader to you? This sounds like a complete government bureaucrat. This was completely ignorant. This is not even the proper grammar of an educated person. This is a guy who's in charge of $450 billion of insurance that you're on the hook for. He's not. He's a government employee. He's going to get paid either way, right? We're the ones who are going to get stuck with that bill if it goes wrong. But he wasn't aware that the agency he's in charge of was taking 18 months to review insurance hikes. What else would you need to know about if you're running for that job? To me, this interview just showed him to be completely disqualified for running the job. Now, you might say, well, Bill, California is a big state. They solve big problems, right? Well, let's enjoy. This year is the 20th anniversary of Gavin Newsom's 10-year plan to end homelessness in San Francisco. How'd that work? He was so successful at not solving homelessness in San Francisco and increasing it. Now he moved to run the state program where it's gotten worse, and he has $20 billion that was spent that he can't account for. That's what happens when states run programs. That's exactly why we don't want, when State Farm and Allstate say this is a bad risk, we don't want the state of California to jump in. And how's San Francisco doing today? Well, while overall real estate is doing well, holding its own nationally, going up 3-4% nationally. LA even holding its own. San Francisco housing prices are dropping back to 2019 prices. Condo prices down to 2015. Homelessness and crime so bad in San Francisco, prices are plummeting. Businesses are leaving. And I would say that's maybe a year or two ahead of where LA is. But that's the people in charge of the state. This was their golden city. This is where the governor came from. This is where Nancy Pelosi is from. They're showing you what the result looks like ahead of time. And if we as taxpayers and voters don't pay attention, then it's on us. We really can't blame them. Here's another example here in Los Angeles I came across recently on homelessness. 1/4. Now, keep in mind, last year, 2 years ago, we passed a law. We charge 5% now extra tax on houses that sell over $5 million. I think 10% houses that go over $10 million. And that money was to help the homelessness. Well, here's a study, an audit done, and we know government officials hate audits. 1/4 of all the homes for homeless are unused. So the problem is we need to build more housing. It's the people who were trying to put into housing don't want to be in housing. They want to be homeless. They want to be on the streets. The government is trying to solve a problem, but governments don't ever solve problems. All governments ever do is make a problem into an institution, a program that lasts forever. And so in California, we should all be paying attention to this insurance problem. And how does it resolve? Well, I don't know what the answer is. I do know the answer is not the government of California raising taxes, raising surcharges, and forcing companies to continue to offer insurance the way they want to. It's going to get really ugly. We need to take a look at ways to reform insurance. We also need to understand that certain houses just can't be insured. If you're in certain high-risk fire zones, or if you're a $50 million mansion in Malibu on the ocean, maybe you don't get insurance. Maybe you need to insure yourself because the state taxpayers don't want that risk. If you can't find a company that will take the risk, why should the state taxpayers of California take that risk? What do you think? Should we, as the state of California, be the largest growing insurance company, the only growing homeowners insurance company in California, the state? And taxpayers, you and me, are we going to end up like 2009 housing crisis where we're the ones holding the bag on all the mistakes? And in the meantime, it's already starting to hurt real estate sales. So this is a problem we need to get on right away. If you have suggestions, if you think I'm wrong, put some comments in there. Like this or unlike it, subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. As always, reach out to me, phone call, text, or email. As always, make today your best day and make this your best year ever. Thanks so much.